Right, hello everyone. Just as a little bit of an intro for the online streaming program that we run. Obviously, it's a bit mind-boggling if you're a bit new to UC to go on that, and because there's a lot of over 300 videos, lots of PDFs. So the question you often get is, where do you start? Well, if you're starting as a practitioner that's pretty new to combatives in general and just wants to develop a skill set, then where I'm going to tell you to start will give you a good progressive beginning and give you the momentum for carrying on. If you wanted to do that somewhat officially, I get kind of graded. If you were a student that wanted to do some of the basic grades, so as a student you can grade 1 to 5 grades before you would get a full understanding of the curriculum. You would get an understanding of the curriculum before that, but by that I mean you would get a yardstick to progress. So let me tell you how that's worked out. So the first two grades, 1 and 2, are basically Combative Foundation, and they are made up of the 3 elements of self-protection. So understanding your street smarts, personal security skills, non-physical options, if you like, that are designed to make you a lot more street smart. So there's people I've taught within corporate companies and various other things that can't really train the physical, or just have not got the mentality to employ the physical, but they can certainly learn personal security skills so that they become a lot more switched on, where they're much more likely to avoid a problem in the first place. So soft skills are non-physical. The next 2 elements of self-protection are physical, and that is either proactive, you're taking action first, which has proved itself to be the most effective means, and reactive, where you are now counter-offensive. For whatever reason you missed something and now you have to deal with it. From a combative foundational point of view, the first things that you learn over 2 grades are these 3 elements of self-protection, and primarily they relate to giving you unarmed hard physical skills, so how to strike, how to ballistically manipulate, how to take somebody down, all these various things in varying degrees in terms of use of force, right up to potentially level 10 threat. And they give you a counter response, first of all, in the beginning of dealing with the most common street type assaults. So it begins with, what are the most common street assaults unarmed, to start with, unarmed. So how does somebody beat the shit out of somebody? Well, usually they grab them and just beat the fuck out of them, or they grab them and slam them against something, throw them on the wall and kick them in the head in, throw them on the floor, kick them in the head, any number of things. So the first counter-offensive part of for a novice to intermediate trainer would be, how do I deal with somebody trying to grab hold of me and drag me around and hit me? That would be the first counter-offence you do. And you would learn that in grade 1 and grade 2, as well as hard skills, how to strike, how to be offensive, and proactive tactics, as well as your street smarts. You can learn that material via the following products. The best I would recommend, if you wanted a quick overview, one of the DVDs to look at would be Simply Combative. That will give you a good start place. You can also look in the UC Gold material, because this still is as great as it ever was, the first thing I ever did, and that's the program Fight Back. That would be a good start. But if you wanted to learn in a kind of chronological order, the way in which I would teach you if you were my student and you come to my classes, or you were within the instructor development program, then we would begin at the beginning. So the best stuff that you can look at for walking into combatives is the online learning modules. Now there's 50 total modules that cover the crux of the curriculum, and they are spread out over 12 online learning courses. So the first course number 1, which would give you 12 of those modules, would give you the basics of what you would need as a beginner to learn what UC is all about. And it would also give you the basics of what you would need if you were looking to grade 1 and grade 2, which is Combative Foundation. Another area to look at, again, for the novice would be if they were particularly interested in grading at some point, but the basic material is also in the grade 1 and the grade 2 package. So let me recap that for you. So for a total novice beginner looking where to start, the following out of the 300 plus videos that are on the online streaming program, along with the array of over 25 books, PDFs that assist that and support it, supplement it if you like. You want to be looking at Simply Combative as a take out the air program you can just put on and watch. Fight Back, which is found in the UC Gold part, and the actual crux that you want to be following from beginning to the end would be the online learning program, and start with the first course, which is the first 12 modules. From there, let's say you've got a basis of understanding of what this is about. Of course, you need to progress, and the progress mapped out in a grading sense would be, by the time you get to grade 3, it's primarily counter weapons, and that means how do we deal with a subject that has a knife, an impact weapon, or whatever else, whilst we are unarmed. Well, there's no fucking guarantees, and it's very difficult, as you'll see, but you have to have something in play that gives you the opportunity to counter offend if you find that yourself in a situation. If somebody comes up to you and arrests your movement, you will learn in the first course how to avoid them, if not how to keep them at bay. And based on the first pre-threat cue that you get, let's say the person's reaching for a knife, you will be instructed to preempt and continuously attack until he's down. So you're not going to be dealing with a weapon because you never got a fucking chance to get the weapon out and into play. That would be the primary way I would teach you. But even monkeys fall out of trees, so you've got to have contingency plans. So what if he walked up to you and he already had the knife palmed in his hand and you missed it, and now all of a sudden he's stabbing at your low line? Well, now you are reacting to what he's doing to you, and that's a very difficult situation to deal with, although it can be dealt with. So by the time you went to grade 3, you would be learning counter weapons. So if you looked in the online learning course out at 50 modules, by the time you get to the second or third course, you are now looking at that material, and that would continue. So how the UC grade method is mapped out is grade 1 and 2 is a foundation. You learn basic personal security skills, offensive hard skills, and counter-offensive measures via principles and tactics that you can employ, all based around mindset. If you then went on in the curriculum, you would go on to like grade 3, which would be counter weapons. Grade 4 would be all elements of anti-grappling and extreme close quarters, standing and on the ground. And grade 5 would be dealing with multiple assailants. So any curriculum worth its salt has to contain methods and understanding of dealing with the following. So there's basically 6 ways in which somebody can fuck you up or fuck with you. The first 2 are non-physical, so intimidation and verbally threatening. So psychom is taught right from the beginning, because you need to understand the effects of adrenaline, you need to understand the MO of the street predator that will employ methods to psych you out and intimidate. And also be threatening. Many people capitulate right there and can't access a physical tool, so you need to understand the psychological side of things. But the first 2 ways in which someone will attempt to mess with you will be intimidation and verbal threats, not physical yet. From there, the last 4 all involve physical harm to you. So one could be the third one would be striking, grabbing and hitting you. So hitting you would be first. Punching you in the face, striking you, kicking you. Hitting you with a limb. That is one way in which a subject can hurt you. Another way in which a subject can hurt you is by grabbing you and manhandling you. And by that I mean grabbing you, slamming you into the wall, throwing you on the floor, whatever else. But what you usually find is the grabbing and the hitting are integrated. They're not separate. So someone will hold you and hit you and hit you and hold you while somebody else hits you. But basically, that's how you're going to get assaulted unarmed in the street. The next element of how you could be assaulted will involve a weapon, and that could be an impact weapon, an edge weapon, or a ballistic weapon, or whatever else. And the final way in which someone can fuck you up in the street is that there's more than one of them, multiple assailants. This is where the basic UC curriculum goes, and has always gone in terms of self-protection. But because, as you are fast fucking realising, in a social world sense, we are moving into dangerous territories, let's say. So there's a good chance that we could end up in a period of civil unrest. There's a good chance we could end up in civil war. There's a good chance that we could become somewhat lawless for a period of time, and it's looked that way for a long time. So I made an additional aspect to UC, and that aspect is cultivating your ability to be the best combatives trainee that you can be. So what we call tier 1. So a tier 1 civilian would now take the skills further than just being street smart and good unarmed skills. Now we start to learn how to use weapons. So across UC is far-reaching all over the world. In some countries it includes firearms. In the UK and the majority of Europe it does not include firearms. But what it will include as a tier 1 civilian would be exceptional unarmed skills, the ability to use any point and edge weapon, the ability to use any kind of impact weapon, ballistic impact weapon, the ability to use any type of improvised tool of opportunity, and also, if the possibility was there, the ability to learn how to shoot. You would also learn how to employ combat casualty care, know how to stop massive hemorrhaging, tactical first aid in a real world sense, massive trauma, how would you control that? You'd also learn skills such as learn how to drive offensively and defensively. You would learn methods of counter custody. You would learn urban survival in an environment in an urban area. You would learn rural survival, bushcraft skills. All these kind of things make up a tier 1 civilian. So you'll notice that some of the material goes into that element, and where you want to be looking for that on this online platform would be anything that says tier 1 civilian or T1C, anything that deals with active threat or counter-terrorism, and anything that involves the understanding of how to use weapons offensively. This is the next level if you can understand that. So one thing I'm known for as a self-protection instructor is that I evolve with the environment. So when we started to see a lot more active shooting and active threat type situations, I was one of the few of us out there that actually addressed what can the average civilian do about that. And now we are evolving again. We are evolving again to a point where we could easily have civil unrest, and we could have factions of armed assailants attacking you in the street or trying to break into your home. I mean, it could happen. Let's be realistic. In which case, one of the worst situations that you could possibly deal with would be multiple armed assailants. And I'll be honest with you, there's not really any high probability way that you're going to do that unarmed. That's why there would be a progression and a need for you to learn how to use weapons. But initially, what we're starting out with is for the average person that's never done anything before, and he's come to the online learning and streaming program and is absolutely overwhelmed with the massive material. I would say start at the beginning. You can't go wrong if you learn all of the online learning modules. Just follow them from 1 to 50. Yeah, you might get the wrong impression that there's a lot to UC. There really isn't. It's a very compressed curriculum. You know, it has to be a limited amount. Less is more. So the thing about Combatives that shares commonality to the wartime methods was it has to be easy to learn. It has to be easily installed and retainable under fight duress. So basically, if you learn something in the morning, it should work for you in the afternoon. And it has to be simple. But what you also need to understand is that there's a big psychology element to it. You need to understand that you will feel scared and how you might learn means to control that. And you also need to know how to access the antisocial part of yourself, if you like, because there's no getting around it. If you want to deal with extreme violence, the only way to deal with it is even more extreme violence in most cases. So there's a need to get your mental conditioning in line with your physical ability, if that makes sense. But all of this is available to you. But I would say for the beginner, look at Simply Combatives, Fight Back, the grade 1, grade 2 modules, packages, and the online modules. That's where you want to start. From there, if you wanted to look at any specific topic, so anti-grappling, dealing with a trained fighter, counter MMA, you would look in one area. If you wanted to look for dealing with multiple assailants, you look in that area. If you wanted to go specific to weapons, you would look at that. It's all there. The curriculum is compressed. We just use a limitless amount of ways in which to train it to get it good. So from an unarmed skills perspective, you've got 6 skills to think about. Palm strike, slap, hammer fist, elbow, knee and eye blitz. That's it. Once you understand the plane of movement and how the body works, the same body mechanics apply if you have a weapon in your hand. So if I teach you line familiarization and how to use your body effectively as a combative machine, I'm teaching you a number of things inside of one thing. So if you know how to throw a palm strike, you know how to throw a punch, you know how to throw a throat strike, you know how to stab with a knife, you know how to stab with a bottle, you know how to hit with a brick, or etc, etc. It's all the same, just a different drill bit. So if you look at actually what you're learning in UC, it's a very compressed curriculum. I just believe that once you understand the tools, you should start to cultivate attributes in order to improve what you do. And you will do that via drills and all sorts of training. And that's why you might have just a palm strike and a slap as an open-handed strike tool, but I could give you 100 ways in which you can improve the ability to do that. So basically, UC is compressed, but there's a lot of material because there's a lot of efficient ways in which you can train it to become the best that you can be. And, you know, I've dedicated my whole life to this. Now, you know, I've been training for now 43 years or 42 years, and I'm 52 years old. So I've been training since I was 10, 11 years old, and I've never stopped. And I've never stopped cultivating UC since 1999. So the information is here. It's vast information. And to be honest with you, for the price of Netflix for a month, it's a good deal. It really is. And obviously, I'm here to pass on the knowledge and help people. Now, in terms of the PDF manual books, there's many. You can't go wrong if you look at those as a beginner, looking at caveman combatives, various other methods that relate to self-protection in the street, street safe, all of these things. You'll notice as you go through UC, regardless of what topic that you look at, it all dovetails into the principles. If you understand one thing, you understand most of it. Right, well, I hope that helps, gives you some kind of navigation. Anyone gets any frustration or has any questions about how to do something specifically, then please feel free to email me to urbanwarrior247@gmail.com. That's my primary email, and when that comes to me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can with a specific question. All right, enjoy the online learning and the online streaming. Peace.